Come on. When was the last time you cleaned the dishes? When was the last time you took the trash out? How do you feel right now when I say it like that? Hi, Stephanie Cook with Couples Counseling ATL. Again, here to talk about what's called the softened startup if you struggle with harsh startups with your partner. Like coming on a little too harsh. They might say critical, ouch. Maybe you really struggle with this area because it was modeled to you as a kid. Maybe that's just part of your personality and you wish they would stop being so sensitive. But I'm here to tell you as a couples therapist that I can tell within the first few seconds of how you bring an issue up, whether or not it's actually going to be resolved and whether your partner is likely to even listen to you. So listen up. Come on. When was the last time you cleaned the dishes? When was the last time you took the trash out? How do you feel right now when I say it like that? Okay. We have a choice about how we bring up something. One way is what we call the harsh startup. That's where you jump in with both barrels blazing and you are critical or contemptuous and you make some sort of statement about your partner and it's bound to make them feel defensive. And a harsh startup usually sabotages getting listened to. So here's another example. Let's say you're tired of being the one cooking all the time, every single night. And tonight you want to do something different. So if you use the harsh startup, you might say something like, you're just too cheap to take me out to dinner. How come you never take me out anymore? Ouch, right? So in contrast, if you're using the softened startup, you might bring up this issue that you're having in a gentler way. I'm feeling bored of my own cooking. Would you mind if we go out to dinner tonight? That's softer, right? That's the softened startup. And the second one has a way better chance of your partner listening to you, hearing you. Our research has discovered a very stunning fact in the Gottman Institute. The first 3 minutes of conflict discussion, it predicts, with 69% likelihood of how it will go. Or actually 80%, 6 years down the road, not just 6 seconds, 6 years. We can tell how you do this, and as a Gottman Couples Therapist, we can also teach you how to do this. So you probably are nicer to random strangers at the checkout line, or to friends, or to family members. If you were maybe, to leave your coat at their house, you wouldn't say something like, God, what's wrong with me? Why do I keep forgetting things? You'd probably be more gracious with yourself. If your partner did that and you were to say, ugh, you dummy, how come you keep forgetting things? You would not change the fact that maybe they're a little more forgetful and they're definitely just going to feel hurt. So for some reason, we're more impatient with our partner, more irritable with our partner, and we're way more patient with ourselves and with other people. But when we communicate in this way, they're going to keep doing the same thing over and over. They're just going to think of you as a jerk, right? When we speak harshly, you're going to sabotage any chance that you have of being listened to. So the master couples or master in relationships, the ones that we've studied that really do well long-term, they use this softened startup. And usually they begin by being, not just softer, but more reassuring. They're not blaming their partner. They're not saying it's their fault. They may even take some responsibility for what issue they're bringing up. And they typically do 3 things. So they use I statements, right? They describe themselves and their own feelings and preferences rather than describing their partner. And they use that word I, and they follow up the I word with a feeling. So they don't begin out the gates with you. Almost all of us are going to feel defensive and on the attack if someone's saying you to us first. And because you is typically followed by words of criticism or words of blame, we've just been conditioned to think that when someone starts with you, especially our partner, it's not going to be good. So by describing your own thoughts or your own feelings, rather than describing the flaws in your partner, you're saying things like, I'm frustrated, or I'm angry, I'm really worried, and instead of something like, you're always so annoying, or they don't talk about their partner, they talk about a specific situation. And they also don't make these critical global statements about their character's partner, or their personality, like you're always making messes, you don't take care of things. They're not saying those global kind of critical statements. And they're only describing the situation and their feelings. I'm upset that the dishes are still piling up in the sink, or I'm overwhelmed with how much laundry that we have to do. They're also expressing more of a positive need. They're asking their partner what they might want or need. Do you have any ideas for how we could remedy this? They also make sure to say what they want. So like they're stating a positive need, like, would you please help me with this? Rather than what they don't like. Gosh, you never help me with this, right? That's not as effective. So to be more successful, just like the master couples in the Gottman Institute research, you add a little bit of sugar to your words. You're a little gentler, affectionate, maybe flirty, playful. They really use those softened startups with some humility too. Like, I know I am frustrating, or I know that this is, sometimes I do that too, or I'm not always doing what I've told you I would do, or I know I'm not always the best with messes. And they're taking ownership of their own feelings. Like, I'm the one who's worried about the bills, or I'm the one who's bothered by the dishes. Making themselves almost sound neurotic about caring about this, rather than making their partner sound like the neurotic one, right? So you're much more likely to get what you're asking for if you have some humility, maybe some even self-effacing jokes. So let's think about a conversation going with the harsh startup like this, okay? This actually happens in my relationship sometimes, and I've learned. I might say something to my husband like, stop driving so fast. You always drive so fast. And I like cringe, or like clenching my body, really exasperated. It's okay if we're late. We don't have to drive this fast. And then my husband, if we're doing this harsh, might say something like, I'm not driving that fast. I'm driving the speed limit. Leave me alone. Or, you're never ready on time, so I have to drive this fast. Or he might be defensive or something, right? Say something then critical of me if I start out harsh. And you can see how it's more likely to kind of escalate, right? It might also get back into a back and forth. Like, you drive too fast. No, I don't. You drive too fast. No, I don't. And that also goes nowhere. You are much less likely, if you use the harsh startup, to change someone's driving, for example, if you're frustrated by it. However, if I were to use a softened startup instead, I might say something like, hey, honey, can we talk about driving? And, if it's a good day for me and a good day for him, he might say, okay. I know you're a good driver, and I know that you are cautious, but, you do drive a little faster than me, and sometimes I just get scared when I'm in the passenger seat. When he might say, oh yeah, I know you get scared. Yeah, I do drive a little faster than you. So maybe there's some validation. I feel a little scared sometimes, just because, I don't know, I've witnessed a lot of car wrecks, or I've been in some car wrecks. So it kind of gets me really flustered. Oh, really? Yeah, I guess I could drive a little slower. Well, how slow? How much slower? I don't know, like 10 miles per hour slower than I normally do, or maybe I think I'd be more likely to drive a little slower if we left a little bit early. Oh, okay, well, I could probably work on, leaving a little bit earlier and making you feel like you don't have to rush. Well, maybe if there's traffic though, I might still want to drive a little faster to kind of get to the HOV lane, and it becomes more of a conversation. Well, I'll try to be a little bit earlier, get ready earlier. Okay, well, I'll try to, slow down a little bit. I know it frustrates you. If you start with the softened startup, you're much more likely to get a little bit of, influence from your partner. So remember the basic rules to be more effective. Start with the I statements. I'm feeling this way, or hey, can we talk? I'm feeling this way. It's important to not criticize, blame, avoid the you sort of words. You always, you never, that's going to sound critical. And it's also going to imply like a personality flaw, like you're assassinating their character, and they're going to feel defensive and judged, and this conversation will go nowhere. So if you say something like, you always forget to clean up the kitchen, or you always drive too fast, the conversation is going to shut down. So don't say, I think you drive too fast. That's not the way. I feel nervous when we drive fast, right? Or I feel like you're a jerk. Like, that is also not a feeling word. So I feel frustrated, scared, angry, concerned. Those are more feelings words. Don't accuse, blame your partner. So you really need to see things non-judgmentally. You're not gonna say, you never drive the speed limit. Instead you can just say, I'd like us to drive the speed limit, or I'd like us to drive slowly. Talk in that more positive way. Ask them what you need from them rather than what you don't need, which is kind of counterintuitive because most of us are taught to just complain and not ask for what we need. So instead of, ugh, what a messy kitchen, I can't believe you don't clean, you just say something softened like, honey, I'd love it if you'd, clean up the dishes tonight, please. With the respect and the accommodating kind of words like we use with regular people. I would appreciate, please. It'd mean a lot to me. And then, finally, we don't have enough appreciation for our partners. We usually are taking them for granted. So make sure to say thank you. Make sure to notice when they're doing something right, or when they're doing something wrong, maybe don't mention that. Try to notice what they're doing right. Don't point out what they're doing wrong as much. And saying thank you really does go a long way. They're going to feel more encouraged. They're going to want to do more of what you're wanting even more. So make sure that in addition to the I statements, the softened, gentle startup, asking in a positive way, not being critical or blaming, that you're also sharing appreciation. And that sort of positive reinforcement is also much more likely to make it happen again and again. So if you're listening to this, thank you. Use the softened startup. Watch out, pause, apologize if you start out the gates kind of harsh. It's going to take some retraining if this is the way that you've been taught to talk. This is not part of your personality, I promise. It's something I've had to change in myself. Anybody can become more effective in their communication with their partner, and you can more quickly solve problems together and feel like you have a teammate if you start using the softened startup more and more. And if you need more help with this or in your relationship, please look at counselingatl.com. Subscribe to our videos. You can get a free online video consultation with any of our therapists. And we also see couples all over Georgia in person or on video. So please reach out to us if you have any questions. And thanks.